These people they've gone crazy. Biden and his party of liberal hypocrites want to lock law-abiding Americans in their homes, which is what they're doing. And they want to keep them out of church. They really do. They're fighting God, they're fighting guns, and they're fighting oil. Think of it. I don't think they'll do too well in Texas. Did you see what they said? We think the race will be quite close in Texas, but the president has an edge. Listen, I'm in favor of oil and energy. I'm in favor of religion and God. Okay? And I'm in favor of our great Second Amendment guns.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, we're going to take a look at the latest breaking Q posts as Q is telling us that there is a massive crime spree underway, and it may be, in effect, a domestic terror campaign again with these fires being started across the western part of the United States. We're going to look at what might be behind it, and we're going to cover a bunch of other topics, including Q warning us that next week and the week after are going to be huge, and I think we're going to see major indictments coming, so you guys are going to want to stick around and hear about that, plus a whole bunch of other news the fake news won't tell you about. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. I'm your host, Craig. You guys know the drill. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't, and also hit the like button to let them know that you like this content and want to see me make more. But with that, before we get started, I remind you, we always do a segment at the end called God's Grace is Greater, so stick around for that. We're going to read a verse out of the book of 1 Peter again, and we're going to look at Christian suffering during the fiery ordeal that arises. And I think that's very appropriate given what a lot of you are out there going through, and us as a nation, what we're going through is appropriate, and these are words that are going to comfort you and they're going to give you hope, and that is really the most important thing I can give to all of you is the gospel, and we can share that with each other, and that matters. So with that, we go over the cue boards. We're picking up right where we left off, 4675, picking up at 4676. We have a lot of cue posts to get through, and I'm going to try to keep it pretty quick and simple. We're going to just hit them all one by one, and then we're going to do our God's Grace is Greater segment, and then we'll wrap it up. So please stick around to the end for that. But before we get into that, I got to remind you, this video is brought to you in part by Brave Browser. If you guys haven't tried this product out, please give it a shot. You know, this is what this whole channel is brought to you on. I'm using the Brave Browser right now. Why do I do it? Because when I make these videos, I don't want my screen filled with a bunch of pop-up ads from things that I don't know about, and I don't want to promote it all. So I use the Brave Browser, but it's got a bunch of other features that you guys are going to love as well. It's got a built-in firewall and VPN. It's got a Tor browser. It even has a way to set up a crypto wallet. There's a lot of features here. And did I mention it's 100% free? As long as you use the link in the description, you can download it for free, and they'll know that I sent you, and in turn, they'll make a contribution to this channel. So it's a win-win. You get a great product for free, and they'll help support this channel. So give it a shot if you haven't yet. You really have nothing to lose, and otherwise you'd be supporting the big tech companies who are out trying to censor us. So if you don't want to support them and you want to get a great product, this is the one you should try out. Try out the Brave Browser today. All right, so we're going to start here. 4676 Q gives us this Twitter post to look at, and it is right here. It says, "We are at a loss for words," and this is from the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office saying, "We are at loss for words. Deputies in Corbett Fire responded to a small brush fire in the 1700 block of Northeast Brower Road in Corbett at 3:52 p.m. Neighbors heard pops and saw 6-foot flames in the forest. Using a shovel and water, they were able to put it out. Deputies found fireworks." So more evidence of this domestic terror campaign that's going on in the West now, where you actually can see, obviously, there are intentional fires being set. There's evidence right here of one that the fake news won't talk about because it fits their agenda to allow these fires to happen and to actually use it as a way to bolster their climate change hoax, and also to cover up for the disorder and chaos they're meant to sow in these counties where, I mean, look, this is obviously targeted at hurting and possibly killing individuals who support President Trump or would possibly support President Trump, and nobody's talking about it. So again, we see the fake news media complicit in covering up the criminal actions of evil individuals who are trying to destroy this nation. And there's been a lot of people who've come out and just called it for what it is. But like I said before in a previous video, look at what happened in Australia. about 9 months ago or 8 months ago, in their summer, they had fires break out across nearly the entire country, which practically burned it down. A lot of people are saying it was almost a test run for what they're trying to do here in the United States. Why? Well, I mean, look at where they're at now in Australia. They have the full-blown lockdowns. They have the Orwellian thought police. They have the, authoritarian, fascistic-like police forces in Victoria throwing journalists on the ground for trying to cover public events, shutting down protests so that people can't even come together and organize to oppose the lockdowns and the face mask mandates. So again, the office goes on here in the rest of this tweet to say the fireworks were placed about 100 and 150 yards off the road. Deputies are conducting high visibility patrols in rural Multnomah County, and corporate fire will remain in the area. If you have any information on this, call the non-emergency line. If you see an active fire, call 911. So obviously they're aware of what's happening right now, and they're also aware that this was an intentional. You don't stick a firework 150 yards off a highway and just leave it to burn by itself unless you're trying to start a fire, right? At least that would be the idea. So Q says, painfully obvious? Yeah, I would say so. Then, of course, here the next post Q gives us is this Facebook post where it said, some of you still think we're not being under attack. I found this individual walking in my property as I was driving in. All he had were some matches in his hand, walked him out of my property at gunpoint, and then we got to some asphalt ground on the main road, made him lay down while the cops arrived. Had my husband been there, he would have been dead. He has multiple warrants, one of them being assaulting a police officer. So, yeah, he's just wandering through the woods. And you know what's the craziest part? You watch this video, and the guy comes out of the woods, and she's like, makes him lay on the ground. And when he does, he drops literally a pack of matches out of his hand. So, and look, I did this whole thing before on people being demonically possessed. And I hope you guys understand. I'm not trying to be hyperbolic here, but I did a whole kind of breakdown of a book that came out that kind of explained demonic possession and how it's related to Antifa. And I think the book was very, acutely accurate when it said that this demonic possession has taken over a lot of these individuals. I mean, they are demonically possessed. And if you don't like that, you don't believe it, that's fine. I'm not telling you to believe it. I'm just telling you that's what's happening here. And it talked about how there was a legalistic structure to demonic possession. So the idea is that we have free will, and we can choose to do good, and we can choose to do evil. But when we choose to live with evil, or do evil, or ignore God and live a godless life, then we open ourselves up to this type of possession. And these are the kind of people, in my opinion, who are evil. Because let's just hypothetically say, give him the benefit of the doubt, he was just wandering through the woods with a pack of matches with no cigarettes, even though he said that. They were like, why do you have the matches? It's like, because I smoke. And they're like, where are your cigarettes? It's like, I don't have any. So take that out. The guy's already wanted for assaulting the police, multiple warrants, obviously involved in some other nefarious crimes. So this is the kind of evil that is a part of the movements that we're talking about when we look at Antifa and the rest, right? And it's because they willingly turn to evil, or they ignore God, and they allow this kind of possession to take over, and then they can do all kinds of evil, right? And that's just, my take on it. Q says not organized. Q. Yeah, I mean, this guy was probably dropped off, and they said, go out in the woods, light some fires, and we'll come pick you up in an hour. Yeah, that's the kind of evil we're up against. Nan on here on the board says, Q, I'm in Oregon City, Clackamas County, level 2 evacuation, terrified, fires raging everywhere. I've been posting to you here for about 2 weeks about these fires. It is real. The rednecks around me are on alert. The others are completely brainwashed. There is no hope for them. Their eyeballs are no longer connected to their brains. Like 90% of people are hopelessly brainwashed by the media. Then Q posts this picture of this Sammy Scott Piat, which is another guy who was picked up on 9/11, who's been charged now with arson, 2nd degree, probation violation in felon possession with body armor, probation violation with methamphetamines, right? So, this is kind of, like I said before, I mean, you guys, you can say what you want, but I call it demonic possession. You can call it just pure evil. It is whatever you want to call it, but it is bad. And it is something that we were warned about. And look, Q says, stay safe, be vigilant. Of course we should. Now, another end on here says, arson is extremism. And this post down here from Justin Weaver is something that we have to read really quick from Q, pointing to this, saying, "Never in my life did I think I would witness a domestic terrorism attack, especially right behind my house. We heard fireworks, walked out and saw giant flash, then a whole house engulfed in flames. A random car fire bombed it on Jennings, and I prayed the family got out. Trying to keep my wife and daughter calm while quickly loading what we could to escape was hard, watching suspicious cars full of people slowly driving up and down the street while trying to load, hoping hoping nothing is thrown at us is terrifying. I hope no one has to go through this, and whoever's doing this should or just stop. Do you really want to murder innocent families? Everyone, keep your head on a swivel, watch your street neighbors, and must most importantly protect your family and everyone you can." So again, I'm not trying to sound like a broken record here, but when they ask the question here, do they really want to murder innocent families? I mean, that's demonic evil. You know what I mean? And like I said, I'm not trying to be hyperbolic. I'm not saying this to scare people. I'm just saying factually, in my opinion, this is the kind of evil you get when you have an entire society that's indoctrinated to love what's evil and to people give these singers like Billie Eilish and Jay-Z and all them, glorifying Satan, glorifying murder and robbery and crime and evil in its purest forms. And you have TV shows like Lucifer that glorify it. You have whole companies like Netflix who are trying to normalize the evil that is, hurting children and just complete depravity and immorality of TV shows that make it look cool and fun to live an evil life. And it's finally coming through in our society. I mean, this is the only thing that could explain how you have people who are willing to go out and burn an entire forest down or burn a house down or commit that kind of evil. So, look, again, I'm not trying to be hyperbolic, but I'm telling you what I believe it is. And the next post here Q gives us is this one right here where it says how, and this talks about the money that flows in from BLM. So it says how the money flows from BLM through Act Blue and directly to Democrat Party interests, including Biden. So the top recipients for money from Act Blue, which is where Black Lives Matter gets its donation or funnels its donations to, went to Biden for president after Bernie, of course, in the tune of $120 million. Now, ask yourself this: if Black Lives Matter is just some, civil rights organization that's supposedly all peaceful, why are they advocating for a candidate like Bernie Sanders, who's a devout socialist communist, right? Why are they funneling it then down to Biden, who's made a deal with Bernie to bring all of his, sycophants on board so that then they could, promote this communism, socialism in America? I mean, yeah. And Q talks about here what powering Democratic candidates, committees, parties, organizations, and C4s around the country, Democrat Party funding. All donations to BLM are routed through a Democrat-only funding organization. 100% of BLM donors are Democrat. 100% of BLM donors agree to power Democrat candidates, committees, parties, and organizations. What percentage of the BLM donations auto-route to the Democrat Party-affiliated networks? These are all good, very good questions, and this was brought to us back in the early part of July of 2020. And Q just goes on to say here, he gives us this Fox News article that just came out, where it talks about data showing that half of the 2019 donations to Act Blue came from untraceable unemployed donors. Now, why is this dangerous? Because a part of the rule is that if you are employed, you have to list your employer when you make a contribution so that they can kind of trace where the money is coming from. But what I think's happening here, and what this article kind of details, is the fact that because the large percentage of these monies are being funneled from unemployed individuals, there's really no way to trace where it comes from because they keep it kind of like an anonymous source of funding, right? So if you think about that, then you understand that the money that's coming in to Act Blue really is possibly coming from outside foreign donors. And why would foreign donors want to put Joe Biden back in office? Well, quite simple. I mean, all of the evidence and all of the investigative journalism and reporting we've done over the past 3 years to expose Hunter Biden, to expose Joe Biden and his criminal actions with the Hussein administration, how they sold us out to these foreign countries, China and Ukraine and all across the world, basically. They undermined the security and sovereignty of America to enrich themselves and to continue to consolidate their power inside of this country. Now, if you look at the numbers, they're really just beyond anything you could ever imagine. But so if you scroll down through here, what stands out is from the donations from 2019, Act Blue was receiving 37% of their donations came with no employer attached, meaning unemployed, I guess. And if you look at Act Blue, or actually, I mean, Win Red, which is the GOP donation, they were only getting 8.2%. Now, in 2020, it looks like it's 41% and up to 50%, right? So 50%, half of their donations are coming from individuals who are unemployed, which means that 50% of the millions and millions of dollars coming in could be coming from anywhere. Now, of course, we all know that Democrats don't like to work and they like to live off the government, and they don't really usually have a propensity to be gainfully employed with any other job than becoming, George Soros paid rioters or, social justice communist professors at liberal arts colleges. But this is disturbing. This is dangerous. Quote here from the article saying, quote, with half of Act Blue donors indicating they do not have an employer, we recommend they start letting their payment processors verify donations to stop foreign and other illicit donations by simply letting themselves listing themselves as an unemployed American. See, because without the verification of the employer, then we're looking at a situation where, as it says up here, the problem is on the back end where Act Blue does not allow banks to verify the identity of the cardholder, meaning someone could buy endless gift cards and list any name they wanted to and leave the employer line blank or type in words like not employed, unemployed. So how hard would it be for a foreign entity to give somebody a bunch of money and say, go to Walmart, buy tens of thousands of dollars in gift cards and just do this multiple times and just donate from different, refillable cards or one-time gift cards and just keep putting money in. So they've set this up for it to be used fraudulently, I believe, and that's what they're doing. So they're still getting their funding from foreign backers, and that's so obvious. Q says, deceivers, welcome to the Democrat Party con, Q. See, because the globalists don't want President Trump back in office. They want a Biden presidency. And they want to claim that the Russians are out there, buying a few $100,000 worth of Facebook ads, which really amounts to nothing compared to the way that big tech companies have decided to completely back the Democrats by instilling their liberal agenda and censoring conservatives on their platforms. But ultimately, the truth is the Democrats are the ones who are engaged in this fraudulent activity, and we have to expose it. That's all I know. Of course, the next one here is this post we got from Q. Remember when Q reminded us of all the people who had been fired? Comey, fired. Jim Rubicki, fired. McCabe, fired. Mark Galena, fired. Lisa Page, fired. Mike Steinbach, fired. John Glaucon, fired. Jim Baker, fired. Trisha Anderson, fired. Bill Priestap, fired. Peter Strzok, fired. And we're still tracking Tashina Gower and Sally Moyer. But think about this. We have so much more than we know. We've had this information since the beginning, Q. And an anon here says near zero results, gotta be blind or a shill. And of course, Q just points to it because the shills are saying nothing's happening, nobody's been fired, nothing's happening. Well, what do? You clean house and you start the investigations. The indictments apparently are coming soon, as Q alludes to in one of the next posts, so we'll get to that. But here, of course, this is an older post from Q where it talked about 3 sex abusers, traffickers down, Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, and Ghislaine Maxwell. And of course, Q says attempts to normalize will fail. Who will be next? Q. And what Q's referring to in that is what we look here in the next one at. An anon saying Netflix social engineering must be suppressed, as should the media complex. Now, of course, this is what I was referring to again. The glorification of evil and depravity and just satanic evil, demonic evil, is the biggest problem in our country right now. The TV shows, the music, the movies. I could do a whole video of just listing movies, TV shows, and songs that glorify the devil and evil that are so popular and that millions and millions of people across the world have seen. and in our country, millions and millions of kids have latched onto and think is cool. So they glorify satanic evil, and they wonder why we have a problem with people marching through the streets, burning down police springs, and saying we need to kill police officers, like we saw with this LA Sheriff's Office shooting today, which I heard God be with them, because I heard, if you guys don't know about this story, there was a senseless act of violence in LA where what appears to be a young gang member, and again, this is my opinion, demonically possessed individual, walks up to two sheriffs sitting in a vehicle and completely unprovoked opens fire on them, puts them both in the hospital after shooting them multiple times. People, you can see there are videos of people who saw the whole thing who are laughing about it, thinking it's hilarious, and it's evil. And then you have the Black Lives Matter marches to the hospital where the sheriffs are being treated, and they're blocking the entrance and exit to the hospital, and they're chanting that they want the sheriffs to die. Now, if that's not demonic evil, guys, I'm only saying this because we gotta wake up. You need to get a Bible. You need to come to Jesus. You need to ask, how will I be saved? Because this evil is all around us. And I'll give you a little taste of that at the end of this video. We're going to talk about exactly how you can be saved. So I hope you guys stick around for that. But Q then goes on here to show us this older post from June of 2018 where it was talking about Netflix trying to normalize pedophilia. And yeah, this is sick, right? Because Netflix came out with this film that had basically this graphic scene of a child engaged in what can only be described as a pornographic scene. And then it talks about how Susan Rice is on the board and Obamas are like, they loved by the Netflix people. Well, why are they trying to normalize it? Because we caught them, because we have all the evidence, because they know that unless they get a groundswell of people to say evil, satanic evil is good, then they're going to be looked at as just these evil people, which I think they are, right? Q says, you have more than you know, Q. Yeah, we do. Of course, the next one here, Anon says, nothing can stop what is coming. And Q just posted this picture. I think this is in Chicago at that art exhibit or whatever it is, statue here with this big bubble. But it says, for God and country, patriots fight. Q. We're out there. We're all over the country. And they try to suppress us, and they can digitally try to deplatform us and make it seem like we're not as big as we are. But in the next post here, Q gives us this: Pennsylvania change in registered voters since 2016. Minus 91,000 Democrats, plus 75,000 Republicans, and plus 42,000 independents. That should tell you a lot. But Q goes on, the MSDNC con, the country is divided, and Dementia Joe, currently taking early stage dementia medication, is leading across the board. So let's just stop right there. If Joe Biden's taking early stage dementia medication, how is he fit to be the leader of this country? Could you imagine if God forbid, we go to war with some country and they're launching an attack on us, and they go, Mr. President, what do we do? What do we do? And he just looks at them with a blank stare and goes, what? What's going on? Like, Mr. President, we just briefed you 5 minutes ago. The Russians are attacking, or the Chinese are attacking, or something's happening. I don't remember. And like, could you imagine? But again, that's why they would probably want Kamala Harris to be president, because she's, the globalist little lapdog. So that's great. But yeah. How do you amplify a desired theme narrative? MSDNC controls what you see, Digital Echo. Twitter, Facebook, Google control what you see and what trends, Digital Echo. So, I mean, I know this. You know this. If you guys have been following the channel, they're suppressing my channel so hard right now. I mean, I've gone from certain numbers to lower and lower and lower, and it's been a gradual deflation of my analytics, and it's obvious that it's all coordinated. And it is, and then they amplify the fake news liars, and they put them in the trending, and then they suppress your content because we're exposing them. But that's okay, because we put our faith in God no matter what, and we're going to keep fighting the digital warfare as digital soldiers that we are here to do, right? Hollywood stars swarm to enforce trend echo. We all know that. Blue check marks swarm to enforce digital echo, of course. Antifa swarm to enforce non-digital echo. Yeah, they'll beat you over the head if you walk down the street with a MAGA hat. So there's that enforcement. Rage and emotion follow by these by those indoctrinated, echo controlled, of course, define indoctrinate to often repeat an idea or belief to someone in order to persuade them to accept it. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Next, grab rage and emotion, organize platforms by indoctrinate and project as majority, zoom and enhance, narrow focus as mainstream. Yeah, that's it. I mean, this is like exactly their game plan. System of control, many choose the path of least resistance. Yeah, that would be the sheep who are not awake yet, the still blue-pilled normies, as they would say. It says, for many, you cannot tell them the truth. Yeah, I have family members, most of them thankfully are open-minded, but some of them are so militant in their belief of the NBC News and Black Lives Matter that they won't even talk to me. And that's sad because they're so close-minded that they've been successfully programmed by this demonic machine. And all I can do is pray and keep trying my best to wake them up. But it says, you must show them only at the precipice will people find the will, strength to change and break the system of control, be free, Q. So that's our job. That's why I do this every day, is to get this information out, right? The next post here, Q says, equal justice under the law as written, transparency, disclosure, and accountability. Justice is the only way forward. Future of our republic at stake. Watergate times 1,000. Now here's where it gets interesting. We have these dates given. September 14th through 18th, 21 through 25. Track and follow events. Did Kevin set his alarm? Q. So obviously what he's talking about here is Kevin Cork putting out that tweet in one of the last videos that we did where he talks about how one of his sources at the DOJ said major indictments are coming. Oh, so 14th through the 18th, 21st through the 25th, we may see some major indictments. Well, that would be interesting. The next post here is a Joe Biden post where it says, we are not prepared for a pandemic. Trump has rolled back progress President Obama and I made to strengthen global health security. We need leadership that builds public trust, focuses on real threats, and mobilizes the world to stop outbreaks before they reach our shores. Now, of course, this was in October when they did Event 201 in New York City, where they simulated a pandemic, and it was so obvious that they were planning this pandemic and planning its rollout with the global community, and here we are, right on schedule. So, look, it's disgusting, it's evil, but that's what we're up against. We're up against people who don't believe in playing fair, that they don't even believe in doing the right thing for you. I mean, they believe in subjugating you and turning you into a serf, a second-class citizen who they rule over. But it says, who benefits the most? Virus or election? Lab or nature? Coincidence or foreknowledge? Difficult truths? Q. Well, I would say all of those are the foremost and not the latter. Well, except in the last part. They had foreknowledge. It was created in a lab, and it's been about the election and the virus, I guess. So it would appear to be both there. Yeah, this is where we're up against. And Q goes through it now in great detail about where we're at. And I want to read these, obviously. It says, how do you accomplish the following? 1, terminate history-making economic gains made by POTUS prior to the election. Virus. 2, stall U.S.-China trade phase 2, buy China time, prevent loss of billions, lock new agreement. Virus. 3, terminate, hold POTUS record attendance rallies across USA, deplete and remove enthusiasm. Virus. 4, protect Biden from embarrassment, mental health, clear cognitive decline, Q&A rally attendance, crowd size, lack of enthusiasm. The virus. 5, protect Biden from Ukraine scandal regarding himself and son, C-19 change narrative. There you go. Protect Biden from sexual assault allegations, C-19 change narrative. Yep. This is all that happened. Remember, the virus came right as we were coming hard with the Obama-Hunter Biden scandal. We were coming hard with the Tara Reade sexual assault claims. I mean, this was all developed to shelter them, just like the whole special process, the special counsel was a way to blockade President Trump from going after the criminal coup that was planned by the FBI and the Hussein administration with the DOJ and the intelligence agencies. Protect and Shelter Me Too created movement, preserved to target future sexual assault allegations, allow hold versus Biden due to C-19 narrative change, of course. And this should all be making you very upset, by the way. And you should be wanting to start acting accordingly to this kind of evil that we're up against. But it says 8, create non-digital pathway to rig 2020 presidential election, engage 80 million mail-in ballot distribution coordinators as early as April, May to sidestep election night, defeat, no concede, attempt ballot harvest media push. We don't know how many ballots are left undelivered by Postal Service legal challenge, battleground states shall challenge or stall challenge, push divisions, chaos, classify 1 through 99. They're trying to rig the election with this. 9, create division, hatred, fear campaign, primarily scare senior citizens from voting in person on election day, riots, protests, C-19, eliminate enough senior Republican votes, counteract them to Republican defections. Look, I know some family members who are terrified. They won't go outside without a mask because they've been brainwashed by the media to think that if they go outside and the breeze hits them the wrong way, they're going to get the Rona and they're not going to come home to their families. And this is psychotic. And I've told them over and over again, I say, you are overreacting. But the media and this evil, again, I only call it demonic because it is such evil that it's unexplainable. 10, create impression, country divided, U.S., EU, early war election gaming tactics against current administration. 11, propaganda blame, attack current administration, economic hardships, death toll, attack plan regarding safety and well-being. This is insane. Regarding C-19 failed push Biden, stage Biden had answered a pandemic early on. Country will heal and Biden victory. With Biden victory, violence will end with Biden victory. Yeah, holding us hostage. 12, change narrative. 44 administration, treason and corruption to POTUS C-19 failure death blame. Yeah, treason and corruption. And now all of a sudden they're trying to pin this on President Trump. 13, isolate faithful from each other, remove ability to attend church. House of worship, yeah, my church hasn't been opened, still isn't open. I can't go to an indoor service. And if they do have a service, it's out in the blistering heat where I'm at, where it's, 100 degrees outside. And it's like, luckily we have other ways of worshiping, but digitally. But yeah, they don't want us coming together. 14, justify social media censorship by using C-19 WHO claim as primary foundation, extend beyond C-19 to other political areas to remove and cut off forms of anti-narrative communication, seize control. Just look at what's happening in Victoria right now, where they shut down any dissent, and Great Britain, where they'll come and they'll pull you out of your house if you make a Facebook post that doesn't go align with what the World Health Organization says is true. They'll delete your videos off YouTube if you say something that's not in line with them. Because these people are evil. They are simply put evil, demonically driven spirits from hell. I'm not being hyperbolic either. If you see the gravity of what's being explained here, then you'll understand how evil this is. 15, leave door open to Constitution crisis. 16, avoid delay public exposure of corruption and accountability, prevent loss of control power. 17, avoid delay loss of U.S. taxpayer trillions due to loss of control, inability to enact corrupt policy, to send money overseas disguised as goodwill, climate, unregulated, no audit policy. Yeah, so we shut down their little climate change racket they were using to funnel billions of dollars of taxpayer money across the world. Trillions, even. And it goes on, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. And many more. It says, how do you accomplish the above? Release a virus. Who benefits the most? The globalists and their puppets here in our country. But of course, we're just crazy conspiracy theorists here, right? And of course, the next one here gives us this YouTube video with what is the Board of County Commissioners. And I'll just kind of summarize their meeting. I'll leave a link to it if you want to watch the whole thing. But it starts here at around 11 minutes. And they talk about like the 13-minute mark, where it basically says that they're finding gas cans that are being left, full gas cans being left in inner areas of the woods, which are meant possibly to be used by Antifa at a later date to start a fire. And they're going around with chainsaws and cutting down telephone poles with the hope of starting major fires in the area. And now this is in the Clackamas County Board. And and they're having a conversation about, we need to call in the National Guard. And this guy is, I guess, the head of the meeting or whatever. And he's like, oh, well, it's all just speculation. And then this guy's saying like, hey, this isn't speculation. I mean, some of it is slight speculation, but we're finding this stuff. We see the evidence. I mean, and we're getting, trusted sources reporting this. So, look, they're doing a number on us right now. And it is criminal and it is evil. And then Anon responds to this video saying at the 1333 mark of the video, they're talking about these types running around. And yeah, here you go. Looks like Antifa dressed up as firefighters with gas cans on their back. Oh, I'm sure they're just there for, a peaceful protest, right? Yeah. The next one here, Q gives us this link, picture showing all these individuals. First confirmed photos of global warming captured. Yeah, arsonists all with their mug shots. Antifa units training in Syria and fighting in Syria. Yeah, that's where they were trained. So you think they're afraid to destroy our country? Picture of ISIS with Antifa flags. You have the old Antifa 1933 party versus the new one today in America. Yeah. And then an Anon post here with his patches from different engagements he's been involved with the military, with the Operation Iraqi Freedom, etc. And Q says, strength and honor, warrior. We stand at the ready, always, Q. And the next one here, President Trump says from May of 2020 this year, saying, the United States of America will be designating Antifa as a terrorist organization, which they should be. And then we have Q giving us this full list of individuals with their names and different links to information that are related to the fires, right? So, and the domestic terrorism campaign. So then he says here at the end, combat tactics, Mr. Ryan. By turning into the path of the torpedo, the captain closed the distance before it could arm itself. Q. Now that's a line from The Hunt for Red October, where there's a torpedo coming at the submarine, and then Sean Connery orders them to basically turn the sub and drive at the torpedo, and the torpedo actually hits the submarine, but it doesn't explode because, like it says there, they turned into it before it could arm itself, which is just another combat tactic, meaning we're going headfirst into these people, which is good. I'm thankful for that. And finally here, Chuck Grassley's tweet saying, this ear of corn is developed and will soon be ready for harvest. And of course, it goes to his Instagram page where he gives this explanation of how the corn is ready for harvest, and it'll be ready for the next few weeks for harvest, or will be ready in the next couple weeks to harvest, which will time up perfectly with the prediction that Q just gave about when the arrests and major indictments will come. So that's where we're going to go ahead and leave it. I went a little over on time. I hope this all wraps up fairly quick, but remember to come here, watch these videos, share them on your social media, leave your thoughts, theories, insights below. I want to hear what you guys have to think. You can also find me on Twitter, even though they're trying to suppress this too, at JustInformYou and at informed_news. Plus, check out the newly revamped website, justinformednews.com, if you want links to all the videos and links to breaking news websites and everything else. There's some cool stuff over here. And if you want to get in contact with me, you can do that through this website as well. So go check that out. Of course, the backup channel is bitchute.com/justinformedtalk, and I'm on Parler at justinformedtalk as well. Plus, if you're going to be in Miami, or you want to be in Miami and you want to check out this great conference that's coming up, we have a list. They have a list of speakers that's going to be epic. It's in Miami at Trump National. Use Just Informed News to get $45 off your ticket as the coupon code. And I hope I see you guys down there. It's going to be October 8th through 10th. So go sign up now today using the link in the description. Also, if you want to support this channel, you can come here and you can financially support through this Patreon, which is a crowdfunding website. A monthly donation, you set it, forget it. Now you're helping create content. Also, I have a GoFundMe set up if you want to make a one-time or anonymous donation. Links to everything will be in the description below this video. Now, before we go, we do a segment at the end called God's Grace is Greater. And today I found a verse that was very appropriate to the topic that we're covering. And it talks about Christian suffering. And I think we've covered it here before, but I'm going to repeat this because it's worth repeating. These are lessons that stand the test of time and become only more appropriate as we come into such ordeals as the one that's described here. And this is in the book of 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 12 through 19. It says, "Dear friends, when the fiery ordeal arises, just like today, among you to test you, don't be surprised by it, as if something unusual were happening to you. Instead, as you share in the sufferings of the Messiah, rejoice, so that you may also rejoice with great joy at the revelation of his glory. If you are ridiculed for the name of Christ, you are blessed, because the Spirit of glory and of God rests on you. None of you, however, should suffer as a murderer, a thief, an evildoer, or as a meddler. But if anyone suffers as a Christian, he should not be ashamed, but should glorify God with that name. For the time has come for judgment to begin with God's household, and if it begins with us, what will the outcome be for those who disobey the gospel of God? And if the righteous is saved with difficulty, what will become of the ungodly and the sinner? So those who suffer according to God's will should, in doing good, entrust themselves to a faithful Creator. Now, I share these words with you for a few reasons. First of all, we're going to suffer as Christians. That's just plain and simple. And it's not because God wants us to suffer. It's because God has given us all this thing called free will. And that means that there are going to be those who choose to embrace evil. And that shouldn't scare us, though. Because as it says here, when the fiery ordeal arises among you to test you, don't be surprised by it. Meaning, we shouldn't be surprised. We know this evil exists. We've identified it. We've seen it, right? Don't think something unusual is happening. Instead, share in the suffering of the Messiah. Rejoice so that you may also rejoice with great joy at the revelation of his glory, right? So we have to rejoice in the fact that we're saved. We have eternal salvation. And that's why I always encourage you guys, reach out to God, say a prayer, look to Christ, and Christ will come to your heart. And share that with others once you receive that message. Because if we're saved with difficulty, and it says here, if the righteous are saved with difficulty, what's going to become of the ungodly and the sinner? Well, I don't want to imagine that, but I can imagine it's fiery pits, gnashing teeth, and hell for them. So, when we suffer according to God's will, what we must do is entrust ourselves to God even further. Because that is the test that we must pass as humans with free will, living in an imperfect world that's full of sin and unfairness. That's my message to you. So if you're having trouble, opening up your heart to God, just look, simple. Say a prayer. Say, God, please show me the way. Get involved with your community. Go to church. Talk to a friend about Christ. Pray in public with your family. Hold hands and show others your faith openly without any shame. Because when God sees you doing these things, he will reward you. And it may not come the time you want. It may not come on the timeline where you're like, God, I want to be rewarded now for my faithfulness. But I assure you that if you have a righteous heart and you live a righteous life and you do all these things without any expectation other than to know that you have become right with God and you have gained that eternal salvation through Jesus Christ our Lord, I guarantee you God will start blessing you in ways that you could never imagine. So that's my message to you. Start today. Say a prayer if you're unsure, but if you are sure, make your voice loud for Christ. So that's my message to you. I hope you guys enjoyed that. That's where I'm going to leave it. A few more things. Hit that subscribe button. Also hit it, punch it, tap it, headbutt it, reverse elbow, swing, kick it. I don't know. Hit the like button if you guys like this content and you want to see me make more. That's it for me, though. Thanks for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.